Did you ever think what it would be like traveling along in an open car without a windshield? Boy, you wouldn't go very far before you got all splattered with mud. And you'd have to keep your eyes closed so as not to be blinded by the dust. Well, when you're traveling along in life, Rangers, common sense acts as a pretty important windshield. It lets you see where you're going.
I am the greatest.
Did you ever think what it would be like traveling along in an open car without a windshield? Boy, you wouldn't go very far before you got all splattered with mud. And you'd have to keep your eyes closed so as not to be blinded by the dust. Well, when you're traveling along in life, Rangers, common sense acts as a pretty important windshield. It lets you see where you're going.
I am the greatest.
Dun, 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 dun. Oh, and I was jamming. What's up, family? This is Moya from Emin the Mass Media Group.
And Kim from eMend is here as well. Happy Sunday.
And Darlene as well.
Welcome, family, to Road to Reparations. Your one and only community show, your number one source for reparations and news in the universe. We got some interesting bills to go over today, but before we start, let's get some housekeeping, shall we? Reparationsnow.com, reparationsnow.com. Get all access and behind the scenes.
All right, and the theatrical release of Reparations Now, the documentary, is also available to stream right now today as we speak on Tubi TV.
And go to our store. That's etnmediagroupstore.com. That's etnmediagroupstore.com. You can get the latest merch, Reparations Now, Cut the Check, Policy Over Party, and even get that Lineage First merch as well. Right now on eminthemassmediagroupstore.com.
Yes, and another way to support Amend the Mass Media Group, doing what you do in your day-to-day anyway, click that ETM Amazon affiliate link before you do all your Amazon shopping. That way, you help us while you help yourself.
All right, if you have not seen the first initial read we did regarding the 1866 Reconstruction Treaties between the United States and Oklahoma tribes regarding the freedmen. Please check that out. Seems like we've been getting some good feedback from the public and the community. We'll actually be continuing that read later on in the month with our good sisters in the building, Sharice and Friday. But yes, we will be continuing this series.
All right, and the calls to action are going out to contact your state legislators. CJEC makes it very easy. Swing by CJEC Social on Twitter at CJEC Official for all the CTA information on how to reach out to your legislatures. Really, the CTAs with CJEC let you shoot information to all the committee members that are going to be hearing these bills at once. But if you need to find your own legislature, just scan that QR code there, put in your information so you can contact your very own legislature directly. Let them know that you are a concerned constituent and what they need to do for your support.
All right, if you have not yet gone on to the callegislation.lc.ca.gov website, you can sign up both as an advocate and as well as an individual. We've actually gone over this process plenty of times on this platform, so if you just go and browse through ETM Media Group's YouTube page, you should be able to see how to send in a position letter.
Okay, and the bills that we're going to be going over today, they just all happen to be Senator Stephen Bradford's reparations bills. There have been some amendments, so we definitely want to read through them to see what changes have been made. We were able to have a conversation with Senator Stephen Bradford a few weeks ago, so swing by ETM Media YouTube channel to check out that discussion.
And always, we want to remind our family and community at large, in order to get these reparation bills passed, we need 41 assembly members, 21 senators, and 1 governor to sign these bills into law. And that's why it's very important that you are aware of what bills are going through. And they equal California reparations. Oh, I guess I forgot that part.
Okay, so I think we're ready to get started. Do we have our first bill up, or did you have anything else you wanted to add, Jamoya?
Actually, yes. I want to talk about the membership that we have available now. There you go. Yep. So now we've opened up membership right here on ETM Media Group's platform. You'll get behind the scenes content, community conversations. We've actually been going and talking to the community. We actually had a community listening reparations session. I don't know, Kim Darlene, when was it? Like last month?
April 14th.
Was it April 14th? Yeah, I can't exactly.
13th, yes.
13th, okay. Mm-hmm. Right here in Sacramento at the Digital Cafe. So thanks to our family for doing that here in Sacramento.
Oh no, that one was March the 30th.
Was it March the 30th?
That was March the 30th, and the one in Sassoon City was April 13th.
There you go. All right, well, thanks for the clarification. So yeah, so we had our good family out in Sassoon City for Arc Bay area, and that was an excellent community reparations informational and feedback section that we got. So we're going to be having those up, but in order to watch them, you got to become a member. So subscribe and become a member to our platform, and so we can give you this good information. But yeah, those information sessions will be by member only.
All right. Won't you be our member?
Boom, boom, boom.
All right. So, what we're here for today.
All right, let's get into it. I guess the first read, we're going to be talking about SB 1403, and I think Miss Darlene will be taking us through the first one. Is that correct, Arlen?
Yes, I will. And thank you very much.
All right.
I would like to start off saying that SB 1403 for the California American Freedmen's Affairs Agency passed out of a Senate Government Organization Committee, and it is set for hearing this Monday, tomorrow, May the 5th, in the Senate Appropriations at 10 a.m. So if you are in the Sacramento area, please stop by and give a Me Too comment. Let's get this thing passed. Okay. SB 1403, California American Freedmen's Affairs Agency. It was last amended in Senate on April the 11th, 2024. It was introduced by Senator Bradford on February the 16th, 2024. Co-authors Senator Cortez and Wabi. Okay. It is an act to add Part 14, quote, commencing with Section 16000, end quote, to Division 3 of Title 2 of the Government Code relating to state government. Legislative Council Digest. SB 143, as amended, Bradford, California American Freedmen's Affairs Agency. Former law until July 1, 2023 established the task force to study and develop reparations proposals for African Americans, with a special consideration for African Americans who are descendants of persons enslaved in the United States, quote, task force, end quote. Former law required the task force, among other things, to identify, compile, and synthesize the related corpus of evidentiary documentation of the institution of slavery that existed within the United States and the colonies as specified, and to recommend the form of compensation that should be awarded, the instrumentalities through which it should be awarded, and who should be eligible for this compensation. This bill will establish the California American Freedmen Agency and state government under the control of the Secretary, who will be appointed by the governor. The bill will require the agency to implement the recommendations of the task force as approved by the legislature and the governor. The bill will require the agency, as part of its duties, to determine how an individual's status as a descendant would be confirmed. The bill would also require proof of an individual's descendant status as to be a qualifying criteria for benefits authorized by the state for descendants. To accomplish these goals, the bill would require the agency to be comprised of a genealogy office and an office of legal affairs. The bill would further require the agency to oversee and monitor existing state agencies and departments tasked with engaging in direct implementation of the policies that fall within the scope of the existing state agencies and departments' authority, including policies related to reparations. Vote majority. Appropriation, no. Fiscal committee, yes. Local program, no. The people of the state of California do enact as follows. Section 1, Part 14, quote, commencing with Section 16000, end quote, is added to Division 3 of Title 2 of the Government Code to read. Part 14, California American Freedmen Affairs Agency. Chapter 1, Definitions. 16000 for purposes of this part. A, agency means the California American Freedmen's Affairs Agency. B, descendants mean descendants of an African American chattel enslaved person in the United States or descendants of a free Black person living in the United States prior to the end of the 19th century. C, Secretary means the Secretary of California American Freedmen's Affairs Agency. D, Task Force means the task force to study and develop reparation proposals for African Americans with a special consideration for African Americans who are descendants of persons enslaved in the United States as established under former Section 8301.1. Chapter 2, General. 16001. A, the California American Freedmen Affairs Agency is hereby established in state government. The agency shall be under the direct control of a secretary who shall be responsible to the governor. B. The governor shall appoint the secretary of the agency who shall perform all duties, exercise all powers, assume and discharge all responsibilities, and carry out and effect all purposes vested by the law in the office. C. The salary of the secretary shall be fixed pursuant to section 12001. Chapter 3, Powers and Duties. 16002. The agency shall implement the recommendations of the task force as approved by the legislature and the governor. As part of its duties, the agency shall determine how an individual's status as a descendant shall be confirmed. Proof of an individual's descendant status shall be a qualifying criteria for benefits authorized by the state of descendants. To accomplish these goals, the agency shall include both of the following offices. A genealogy office to support potential reparations claimants by providing access to expert genealogical research to confirm reparations eligibility and expedite assistance with the reparations claim process. B. An office of legal affairs to provide legal advice, counsel, and services to the agency and its officials, and to ensure that the agency's programs are administered in accordance with applicable legislative authority. The office shall also advise the head of the agency on legislative, legal, and regulatory initiatives and serve as an external liaison on legal matters with other state agencies and other entities. 16003. The agency shall oversee and monitor existing state agency and departments tasked with engaging in direct implementation of the policies that fall within the scope of the existing state agency and departments' authority, including policies related to reparations. And that's it for that bill. As I said, it will be heard tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. It's Senate Appropriations.
All right. Did we want to take a quick look at the amendments that were added to this bill to see?
All right, let's do it. Oh, yes, by the way, thanks for mentioning that, Kim. Some of these bills we've already gone through, but we're going to go over them because some of these bills did get amended. And it's always good to refresh on the language.
Right. We really can't touch on this information too many times. So, okay, descendant. So, looks like the change was to the definition of descendant. Means instead of African American descendants of chattel enslaved
Persons in the
United States, we have descendants to mean descendants of an African American chattel enslaved person in the United States, or descendants of a free person living in the United States. So the change looks to be pretty subtle, but nonetheless, we have a change here.
Yeah.
And
looks like that was it on 1403. So let's go to, I guess, the next one, which would be 1331. Guess that's on you, Kim. Yes.
Oh, I'm up. All right. This is our funding bill. So let's see. SB 1331, the Fund for Reparations and Reparative Justice. Amended in Senate April 3rd, 2024. California Legislature 2023-2024 regular session. Senate Bill 1331. Introduced by Senator Bradford, February 16, 2024, an act to add Chapter 6.1, commencing with Section 6630 to Division 7 of Title I of the Government Code relating to state government, Legislative Council's Digest. SB 1331 as amended, Bradford. The Fund for Reparations and Reparative Justice. Previously existing law established until July 1st, 2023, the task force to study and develop reparations proposals for African Americans with a special consideration for African Americans who are descendants of persons enslaved in the United States. Previously existing law required the task force to, among other things, identify, compile, and synthesize the relevant corpus of evidentiary documentation of the institution of slavery that existed within the United States and the colonies that became the United States as specified, and to recommend appropriate remedies in consideration of the task force findings as specified. Previously existing law required the task force to submit a written report of its findings and recommendations to the legislature as specified. Existing law establishes the special fund for economic uncertainties and requires the controller to make, among other transfers between the fund and the general fund, a transfer from the general fund to the special fund for economic uncertainties of the unencumbered balance in the general fund at the end of each fiscal year. Existing law continuously appropriates monies in the special fund for economic uncertainties to the Director of Finance for the purpose of allocating funds for disaster relief as specified. This bill would establish the Fund for Reparations and Reparative Justice in the state treasury for the purpose of funding policies approved by the legislature and the governor that indemnify descendants of an African American chattel enslaved person or descendants of a free person living in the United States prior to the end of the 19th century. The bill will require the controller to transfer from the special fund for the economic uncertainties to the Fund for Reparations and Reparative Justice an amount equal to 6% of the transfers from the general fund to the special fund for economic uncertainties as specified. Upon appropriation, the bill will require the monies in the Fund for Reparations and Reparative Justice to be expended for the above described purpose. The bill would authorize the fund to receive monies from any other federal, state, or local grant, or from any private donation or grant as specified. Vote: majority appropriation no, fiscal committee yes, local program no. The people of the state of California do enact as follows. Section 1, Chapter 6.1, commencing with Section 6630, in addition to Division 7 of Title I of the Government Code to read, Chapter 6.1. The Fund for Reparations and Reparative Justice, 6630, the legislature finds and declares all of the following. A. California has begun the process of addressing its role in accommodating and facilitating slavery, perpetuating the vestiges of enslavement, propagating state-sanctioned discrimination, and tolerating persistent systemic structures of discrimination against living African Americans across its systems of government at the local and state level. B. As a result of this historic and continued discrimination, African Americans in California, especially those whose lineage can be traced to an enslaved person, continue to suffer economic, educational, and health hardships that have prevented them as a people from achieving equality. C. In order to maintain slavery, government actors adopted white supremacist beliefs and passed laws to create a racial hierarchy and control enslaved and free African Americans. D. After the end of slavery, although the federal Constitution recognized African Americans as citizens on paper, the government failed to give them full rights of citizenship and failed to protect them from widespread terror and violence. E. Along with the dereliction of the United States' duty to protect its African American citizens, direct federal, state, and local government actions continue to enforce the racist lies created to justify slavery. These laws and government-supported cultural beliefs have since formed the foundation of innumerable modern laws, policies, and practices across the nation. F. Even after the abolition of slavery, its badges and incidents remain embedded in the political, legal, health, financial, educational, cultural, environmental, social, and economic systems of the United States of America. Racist, casteist, untrue, and harmful stereotypes created to support slavery continue to physically and mentally harm African Americans today. G. Without a remedy specifically targeted to dismantle our country's racist foundations and heal the injuries inflicted by colonial and American governments, the badges and instances of slavery will continue to harm African Americans in almost all aspects of American life. H. The legislature recognizes and accepts responsibility for all of the harms and atrocities committed by representatives of the state who promoted, facilitated, enforced, and permitted the institution of chattel slavery and its legacy of ongoing badges and incidents of slavery that form the systemic structures of discrimination. I. I. The legislature intends that the benefits issued under this chapter be dedicated to policies or programs that indemnify descendants of an African American, chattel enslaved person, or descendants of a free Black person living in the United States prior to the end of the 19th century. 6631A. There is hereby created in the state treasury the Fund for Reparations and Reparative Justice for the purpose of funding policies approved by the legislature and the governor that indemnify descendants of an African American chattel enslaved person in the United States or descendants of a free Black person living in the United States prior to the end of the 19th century. B. The controller shall transfer from the special fund for economic uncertainties to the Fund for Reparations and Reparative Justice an amount determined by the Department of Finance equal to 6% of the transfers from the general fund to the special fund for economic uncertainties as specified in the Annual Budget Act. Upon appropriations by the legislature, the monies in the fund shall be expanded to purpose described in subdivision. C. The Fund for Reparations and Reparative Justice may receive monies from any other federal, state, or local grant or from any private donation or grant for the purpose of this chapter.
All right.
The end.
The end. The end of the beginning.
The beginning, yeah.
All right. So looks like most of the redacted information was the restorative.
Yes, restorative to reparative, which sounds like it's a better fit for what we're talking about here. And it looks like they made the same changes to this bill as in 1403 with the descendant language.
Yeah. Looks like that was about it. Any comments on this one, or shall we go to the next bill?
Darlene, do you have your handy dandy sheet available for what's coming up next with this one, or you only have that information for your own bill?
All
Hello.
Right. I guess we'll go to the next one.
All right. We'll figure out where this bill is at before we get out of here today.
All right. So.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No. Go back, Umoria. I was on mute, and I'm just talking away. I was on mute.
You are just talking away to yourself.
I was talking to myself. I have that information. I am sorry. I put myself on mute. I did not want to interrupt Kim while she was reading. Well. So yes, the SB 1331, the Reparation and Reparative Justice Fund, it passed out of Senate Judiciary Committee, And the hearing is set for Senate Appropriations Monday, May the 13th at 10 a.m.
Okay,
Right.
so
And I
mark
think
your
we have a
calendars.
slide that we could probably go through summarizing all this stuff
Yes.
as well, Kim. But
And
yeah,
I'm
thanks.
sorry, I had put myself on mute doing the right thing, but forgot
Everybody
to unmute
on
myself.
mute.
Yes.
All right, Umoya, you up.
I'm
All
going
right,
to
can
put
everyone
myself on mute again, so
I'm
remind
going
me.
on mute too. Everybody on mute.
can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
SB 1050. Okay.
Yes.
Here we go. SB 1050, California American Freedmen Affairs Agency, racially motivated eminent domain. This was amended in Senate April 3rd, 2024. Senate Bill number 1050, introduced by Senator Bradford, co-author Senator Smallwood Cuevas, co-author Assemblymember Jackson. An act to add Chapter 4, commencing with Section 16005 to Part 14 of Division 3 of Title 2 of the Government Code relating to state government legislative councils digest. SB 1050 as amended, Bradford, California American Freedmen Affairs Agency, racially motivated eminent domain. Existing law establishes until January 1st, 2030, the Racial Equity Commission within the Office of Planning and Research, and requires the commission to develop resources, best practices, and tools for advancing racial equity by, among other things, developing a statewide racial equity framework that includes methodologies and tools that can be employed to advance racial equity and address structural racism in California. This bill would require the Office of Legal Affairs, which would be established within the California American Freedmen Affairs Agency as provided by SB 1403 of the 2023-24 regular session, to, upon appropriation by review, investigate and make certain determinations regarding applications for compensation from persons who claim they are the rightful owner, as defined, of property taken as a result of racially motivated eminent domain. The bill would define, quote, racially motivated eminent domain, end quote, to mean when the state, county, city and county, district, or other political subdivision of the state requires private property for public use and does not distribute just compensation to the owner at the time of the compensation was due, in whole or in part, to the owner at the time of the taking and the taking or the failure to provide just compensation was due in whole or in part to the owner's ethnicity or race. Upon a determination that just compensation is warranted as provided, the bill would require the Office of Legal Affairs to certify that the rightful owner is entitled to specified compensation from the Fund for Reparations and Restorative Justice, which would be established by provided by SB 1331 of the 2023-24 regular session. All right. Upon a determination that an applicant is not a rightful owner or just compensation is not warranted, the bill will require the Office of Legal Affairs to notify the applicant of its finding and provide an appeal process as specified. The bill would make every finding, decision, determination, or other official act of the California American Freedmen Affairs Agency subject to judicial review. This bill would also require the Office of Strategic Communications and Media Affairs, which would be established within the California American Freedmen Affairs Agency as provided by SB 1403 of the 2023-24 regular session, to develop and implement a public education campaign regarding discriminatory housing and urban planning practices by the state as specified. This bill would make related findings and declarations, including those related to a gift of public funds. Vote majority. Appropriations, no. Fiscal committee, yes. Local program, no. The people of the state of California do enact as follows. Section 1, Chapter 4, commencing with Section 16005, is added to Part 14 of Division 3 of Title 2 of the Government Code to read Chapter 4, Restitution for Race-Based eminent domain. 16005A, the legislature finds and declares that it is in the public interest to compensate victims of racially motivated eminent domain, which deprive persons of just compensation for their property due to racially discriminatory motives. The unjust taking of land without fair compensation destroyed communities, forced many from their historical neighborhoods, deprived those persons of the fair value of their property, and in many cases, prevented the accumulation of generational wealth. Providing compensation to these victims of racial discrimination will restore the value of wrongfully taken property to rightful owners and hold government entities responsible for those wrongful discriminatory acts. B. This chapter shall govern the procedure by which rightful owners and their descendants may seek a determination that they were the victims of racially motivated eminent domain and obtain a referral to the Fund for Reparations and Restorative Justice for compensation. 16006A. For purposes of this section, the following definitions apply. 1. Racially motivated eminent domain means when the state, county, city, and county district, or other political subdivision of the state acquires private property for public use and does not distribute just compensation to the owner at the time of the taking, and the taking or the failure to provide just compensation was due in whole or in part to the owner's ethnicity or race. 2. Rightful owner means a person who has had property taken from them by the state, county, city, and county district, or other political subdivision of the state without just compensation as a result of racially motivated eminent domain, or a direct descendant of the person whose property was taken. Upon appropriation by the legislature, the Office of Legal Affairs within the California American Freedmen Affairs Agency shall do all of the following. 1. Accept applications for compensation for persons who claim they are the rightful owner of property taken as a result of racially motivated eminent domain. 2A. Review and investigate applications submitted under paragraph 1B. 2B. As part of its review, the Office of Legal Affairs may request submission of additional information supporting the application that is reasonably necessary to verify the application, determine whether the applicant is a rightful owner, and determine whether the taking was racially motivated. If the office makes a request for additional documentation, it shall communicate that request to the applicant with a notice of the additional information required. The office shall consider any additional information provided by the applicant within 30 days of the receipt of the notice. I'm going to repeat that again. The office shall consider any additional information provided by the applicant within 30 days of the receipt of the notice. Number 3, after reviewing all of the relevant materials, determine whether the applicant is a rightful owner of property taken through racially motivated eminent domain. 4A, if the Office of Legal Affairs determines that an applicant has established that they are a rightful owner under paragraph 3, the office shall determine, 4A, number 1, the present day fair market value of the property that was taken from them by the state, county, city, and county district, or other political subdivision of the state as a result of racially motivated eminent domain. 2, whether issuing just compensation to that rightful owner would serve to redress past acts of racial discrimination, prevent future acts of racial discrimination, and benefit the whole of the community and its general welfare. B, if the Office of Legal Affairs determines that providing just compensation is warranted under Clause 2 of subparagraph A, the Office of Legal Affairs shall certify that the rightful owner is entitled to compensation from the Fund for Reparations and Restorative Justice in the amount of the fair market value of the property as determined pursuant to Clause 1 of subparagraph A, minus the amount paid at the time of the taking adjusted for inflation. 5, if the Office of Legal Affairs determines that an applicant is not a rightful owner or that just compensation is not warranted, the office shall notify the applicant of its finding. The applicant may appeal the determination within 60 days of receiving the notice and provide additional information to support their claim. The office shall consider the appeal and any new information provided and issue a determination on the appeal within 120 days. C. Every finding, decision, determination, or other official act of the California American Freedmen Affairs Agency is subject to judicial review in accordance with the law. 16007. The Office of Strategic Communications and Media Affairs within the California American Freedmen Affairs Agency shall develop and implement a public education campaign regarding the cycle of gentrification, displacement, and exclusion, the connection between redlining and gentrification, and the history of discriminatory urban planning in the state. Section 2. The legislature finds and declares that the addition of Chapter 4, commencing with Section 10665 to Part 14 of Division 3 of the Title 2 of the Government Code by this Act serves a public purpose and does not constitute a gift of public funds within the meaning of Section 6 of Article XVI of the California Constitution by redressing past acts of racial discrimination, preventing future acts of racial discrimination, and benefiting the whole of the community and its general welfare.
Well, I'm off of mute. Thank you, Moya. I took myself off of mute this time. There's a lot going on with this bill. It's a lot going on. I see a lot of amendments in the future with this bill.
Well, it looks like if we go over some of the redacted information, one thing that we actually did confirm with Senator Bradford, for those who did not see our conversation with Senator Bradford, I highly suggest you watch the discussion and interview that we had with them. One of them is SB 490. It looks like they redacted that, changed that to 1403. Because for those that don't know, SB 490 is currently basically it's just going to be sitting. I don't think that bill is going to be moving at all for now. Yeah, a lot of information was redacted here.
And some of the language needs to be changed. They're continuing in this one to say restorative opposed to reparative. So, yeah, they're going to have to be consistent with the language. There's no descendant language at all. It's just persons. To me, that needs to be in there.
Right, race-based. Right. I think it makes it race-based because, right, there's no distinction on.
Yeah, definitely. That would be a good idea to update that to, especially those two parts would definitely strengthen this bill for sure.
Right, yeah, it needs to be strengthened. Yeah, that's why I say I could see some amendments in the near future.
All right. Yes. So I guess we're going to go to, I believe, SB 1013, taxation property tax assistance for descendants of enslaved persons.
But also, Moya, before we go on to that, SB 1040 passed out of Senate Judiciary Committee, and the hearing is set for Senate Appropriations Monday the 13th at 10 o'clock.
10:50?
10 o'clock. Oh, 10:50, yes.
All right. So, yeah, so once again, it's the California American Freedmen Affairs Agency, racially motivated, eminent domain.
Okay.
All right, thank you for that, Darlene.
Okay, the next one up is SB 1013, taxation, property tax assistance for descendants of enslaved person. The last amendment was in the Senate on April 30th. California legislation 2023 to 2024 regular session. This was introduced by Senator Bradford on February the 5th, 2024. And it is an act to add Part 10.8, quote, commencing with Section 21100, end quote, to Division 2 of the Revenue and Taxation Code relating to taxation. Legislative Council Digest. SB 1013, as amended, Bradford Taxation Property Tax Assistance for Descendants of Enslaved Persons. The Gun Saves Dumajan Pettis Senior Citizen Property Tax Assistance Law authorized individuals who meet specified criteria, including that they either be 62 years of age or older or blind, disabled, as defined, to file with the Franchise Tax Board a claim for assistance. The law authorizes assistance in an amount equal to a percentage determined as provided of either the property taxes incurred and paid by the claimant on their residential dwelling or with respect to a claimant renting their residence, the applicable statutory property tax equivalent. This bill would establish the property tax assistance for descendants of enslaved persons program for purposes of making, upon appropriation by the legislation, monies available to persons who meet specific criteria for purpose of providing financial assistance equal to the total amount of property taxes paid on a residential dwelling, defined, or 4,000, whichever is less and is subject to specified limitations. The bill would, for purposes of determining a person's eligibility for monies under the program, require the person to provide an affidavit under penalty of perjury containing specified information if the residential dwelling is owned by the person on property owned by a nonprofit incorporated association. By expanding the crime of perjury, the bill would impose a state mandated local program. The bill would require the Franchise Tax Board to develop and administer the program and to provide monies to eligible claimants. The bill would set forth procedures for administering the program. The California Constitution requires the state to reimburse local agencies and school districts for certain costs mandated by the state. Statutory provisions establish procedures for making that reimbursement. This bill would provide that no reimbursement is required by this act for a specific reason. Vote majority. Appropriation, no. Fiscal committee, yes. Local program, yes. The people of the state of California do enact as follows. Section 1, Part 10.8, quote, commencing with Section 21100, end quote, is added to Division 2 of the Revenue and Taxation Code to read, Part 10.8, Property Tax Assistance for Descendants of Enslaved Persons. 21100, this chapter shall be known and may be cited as the Property Tax Assistance for Descendants of Enslaved Persons Program. 21101, for purposes of this part, the following definitions apply. A, claimant means a person who satisfies all the requirements under Section 21101.2. B, floating home has the same meaning as defined in Subdivision D of Section 18075.55 of the Health and Safety Code. C, household includes the claimant and all other persons whose principal place of residence is the residential dwelling of the claimant. For purposes of this subdivision, other persons shall exclude bona fide renters, minors, or students. D, principal place of residence has the same meaning as principal resident as the term is used in Subdivision K of Section 3 of Article 13. E, program means the Property Tax Assistance for Descendants of Enslaved Persons Program as established by this part. F, property tax means all taxes exclusive of interest, penalties, and principal payments on improvement bonds and charges for services levied against a claimant's residential dwelling by any taxing agency for payment with respect to property tax lien dates occurring on or after January 1, 2025. Property tax includes license fees imposed by Part 5, quote, commencing with Section 10701, end quote, if the fee is imposed on the land owned or rented by the claimant. G1. Residential dwelling means a dwelling used as a principal place of residence by the claimant and the land surrounding by the dwelling as is reasonably necessary for the use of the dwelling as a home. G2. Residential dwelling shall also include all of the following. 2A, a dwelling that is owned by a claimant that is subject to property taxation pursuant to Part 13, quote, commencing with Section 5800, end quote, of Division 1, or to the license fee imposed by Part 5, quote, commencing with Section 10701, end quote, of Division 1, and that is located on land owned or rented by the claimant. 2B, a dwelling that is rented by the claimant that is subject to property taxation pursuant to Part 13, quote, commencing with Section 5800, end quote, a Division 1 or to the license fee imposed by Part 5, quote, commencing with Section 10701, end quote, a Division 1, and that is located on land rented by the claimant or the owner of the dwelling. 2C, a floating home owned or rented by a claimant. 3. Notwithstanding paragraphs 1 and 2, residential dwellings shall not include any of the following. Okay, 3A, a dwelling that is exempt from ad valorem real property taxation for which the owner of the dwelling is not liable for possessing interest taxes. B, a dwelling not located in the state. C, land without a dwelling located on the land. 8, taxing agency shall have the same meaning as in Section 121. 21101.1. A, the property tax assistance for descendants of enslaved program is hereby established for the purposes of providing financial assistance to descendants of a person enslaved in the United States. B, upon appropriation by the legislation, money shall be distributed under the program in accordance with its part. C1, the Franchise Tax Board shall develop and administer the program, and consistent with the requirements of this part, shall provide assistance to claimants it selects to receive the assistance. 2, the Franchise Tax Board shall adopt any rules and regulations necessary for the administration of this part. 21101.2. A person may file with the Franchise Tax Board a claim for property tax assistance in accordance with this part. B, a person shall be considered a claimant that is eligible to receive assistance pursuant to this part if the person satisfies the following conditions. B1, is a descendant of an African American chattel slave person in the United States or descendants of a free black person living in the United States prior to the end of the 19th century. 2, their status as a descendant as described in paragraph 1 has been confirmed by the California American Freedmen's Affairs Agency. 3, is either of the following. A owner and occupant of a residential dwelling that is the person's principal place of residence during the calendar year for which assistance is claimed. B, a person who rents and occupies a residential dwelling as their principal place of residence during the calendar year for which assistance is claimed. 4, submits a complete claim to the Franchise Tax Board within the deadline set by the board. 5, if requested by the Franchise Tax Board, submits the following. 5A, if the person is requesting assistance related to property taxes on a residential dwelling purchased pursuant to an unrecorded contract of sale, a copy of the contract or other evidence to establish the fact of the purchase or change of ownership. 5B, if the residential dwelling is owned by the person or property owned by a nonprofit incorporated association, an affidavit under penalty of perjury containing sufficient evidence to support such ownership and the person's obligations to pay a pro rata share of the property tax levied against the nonprofit incorporated association property. 21101.3. The Franchise Tax Board may provide assistance to claimants who are eligible under Section 21101.2 in an amount equal to the total amount of property taxes paid on the residential dwelling or $4,000, quote, $4,000, end quote, whichever is less. However, any assistance shall be provided in accordance with the following. A, assistance shall be provided only for property taxes for the calendar year in which the claim for assistance is made under this part. B, A claimant shall be entitled to assistance based on pro rata share of the property taxes paid during the calendar year for which assistance is claimed. The pro rata share of the claimant shall be calculated based on the following. 1. The number of persons who paid rent or owned and occupied as applicable the residential dwelling in the calendar year for which the assistance is claimed. 2. The number of months where claimant has paid rent or owned and occupied as applicable the residential dwelling in the calendar year for which assistance is claimed. C. Notwithstanding any provision of this part, when a residential dwelling is owned by two or more persons as joint tenants or tenants in common, and one or more of those persons is not a member of the claimant's household, the claimant may only receive property tax assistance with respect to that part of the property tax that reflects the ownership percentage of the claimant and other persons who are part of the household. However, the proration requirement of this paragraph should not apply to the ownership percentage of any of the following persons. C1, the claimant's spouse or domestic partner. C2, the parents, natural or adopted children or grandchildren of the claimant's spouse or domestic partner. C3, the spouse or domestic partner of any person enumerated in paragraph 2. D. Assistance shall only be provided with respect to property taxes claimed and already paid. E. Assistance shall not be provided for claims that are $5 or less. F. In case of a claimant who is the owner and occupant of a residential dwelling, only one owner claimant from each household shall be entitled to assistance pursuant to this part each calendar year. When two or more persons of a household are eligible to claim assistance under this part and disagree as to who the owner claimant shall be, the matter shall be referred to the Franchise Tax Board. The board's decision shall be final. Section 2. No reimbursement is required by this act pursuant to Section 6 of Article 13B of the California Constitution because the only cost that may be incurred by a local agency or school district will be incurred because this act creates a new crime or infraction, eliminates a crime or infraction, or changes the penalty from a crime or infraction within the meaning of Section 17556 of the Government Code, or changes the definition of a crime within the meaning of Section 6 of Article 13B of the California Constitution. And SB 1013 passed Senate Review and Taxation Committee. Hearing is set for Senate Appropriations Monday, May 13 at 10 o'clock. This is a mouthful. And I'm glad in there somewhere it shows that, they have to refer to the agency, SB 1403, that we know is going to get passed, because I can see people needing a lot of help with this.
Absolutely. And I wasn't, am I on? Yes, I'm off the mic. Okay. Thought I was on mute. I'm not on mute, so I am speaking. I think, yes.
Yes.
All right. So, and I just want to look up some of these terms here. One of the term was ad valorem.
Yeah.
And I did not know what that means. And that means in proportion to the estimated value of the goods or transaction concerned. That's the adverb. Adjective is to the estimated value of the goods or transaction concerned. Here it goes. A dwelling that is exempt from an ad valorem real property taxation and for which the owner of the dwelling is not liable for possessory interest taxes. So yeah. So that's the definition of ad valorem. There's a lot of, as we could see, a lot of redacted information here. But as you mentioned, Darlene, definitely descendants of enslaved persons was mentioned. So, that's definitely a good start.
Yes. And they also, SB 1403, they have the Office of Genealogy and the Office of Legal Affairs. I don't know if it would fall under Legal Affairs or they need to create a taxation office because this is quite a lot, especially the adding in the renters part. And then if a person has co-ownership, that can get a little sticky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, definitely
Yeah.
need some administration
Maybe.
help on
Yeah.
this. And I noticed that also it appears that you have to apply every
Mhm.
calendar
The
year for
year.
this too.
Hmm.
So yeah,
So, I mean, it's been a while since I've done taxes, but is that even on the tax form, the long form for people who have homes? Is that even on there?
I don't know. A lot of people's
Yeah.
homes, their taxes are held in an escrow account, so they probably wouldn't even have that
No. Yeah.
documentation right. Correct. So, like you said, the Freedmen Affairs Agency is key in the
Mm-hmm.
administration for this legislation because
Hmm.
it can get pretty complex when you're dealing with
Yes.
tax
Taxes.
codes.
And then if you scroll to the beginning, Umoya, and it's, it just seems like it is under these, I'm sure I didn't pronounce his name, Dumajan Credit Senior Citizen. I wonder, do any of our senior citizens that are descendants know that this is even in place?
Yes, that was
You
my
know?
thought as well. Do people
Yeah,
take advantage of
advantage
this
of it.
already existing program
Yeah.
that's in place?
Hmm.
I wonder how many know about it. That's a very good question.
Yeah. I mean, it's 62. And I always say, if you're young, if you don't bring down your Social Security at 62, you're a young person. I mean, 62 is relatively young, quote unquote, but older or blind or disabled. I mean, come on. I mean, I've never heard of this bill. I mean, I'm not a homeowner, but still, four
Right.
thousand dollars.
Hopefully,
Yeah, $4,000 could mean a lot to a person.
Hmm.
right. Hopefully they include that information in their, regular communications.
It's-
Hopefully there's a blurb about it so people
yeah,
realize that it's available.
available. Hmm.
Hmm.
Up to
All right.
$4,000. That could mean a lot to someone. It can mean a lot to my checking account.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Huh. Yeah. Hmm.
Especially since it sounds like this is a reimbursement, your taxes have to be paid before
Paid.
you can,
Yeah,
yeah.
they have to be paid and it has to be reimbursed. So again, there's a second claim you have to make. You're absolutely correct, Kim. Because you've already paid your taxes, then you have to
Hmm.
make a second claim for the reimbursement. Yeah, I mean, people are going to need a lot of help with this because,
Gonna need some expertise help
yeah,
navigating this program, but that's what the COFA office is for. Like you
or
said,
it
once
is.
that gets established, which it will.
Yes, it will be getting established. We will see to it tomorrow on this way.
All right, 1007, or like I like to say, 1007 here.
Hmm.
Right, this is our SB 1007, Housing Homeowner Assistance, Homeowners Assistance for Descendants of Enslaved Persons. Amended in Senate April 1st, 2024. California Legislature 2023-2024 regular session, introduced by Bradford February 1st, 2024, Senate Bill 1007. The Act to add Chapter 6.9, commencing with Section 50676.5 to Part 2 of Division 31 of the Health and Safety Code related to housing. Legislative Council's Digest, SB 1007, as amended, Bradford Housing. Homeowners Assistance for Descendants of Enslaved Persons Program. Existing law establishes the California Housing Finance Agency in the Business Consumer Services and Housing Agency for the purpose of meeting the housing needs of persons and families of low or moderate income. This bill would establish the Homeowners Assistance for Descendants of Enslaved Persons Program for purposes of making, upon appropriation by the legislature, financial aid and assistance for the purpose of purchasing, owning, or maintaining a home available to descendants defined to include African American descendants of chattel enslaved persons. The bill will require the agency to develop and administer the program and provide financial aid and assistance to qualified applicants it selects. The bill would set forth eligibility requirements for applicants and procedures for administering the program. Vote majority, appropriations no, fiscal committee yes, local program no. The people of the state of California do enact as follows. Section 1, Chapter 6.9, commencing with Section 50676.5, is added to Part 2 of Division 31 of the Health and Safety Code to read Chapter 6.9, Homeowners Assistance for Descendants of Enslaved Persons. 50676.5, for purposes of this chapter, the following definitions apply. A. Agency means the California Housing Finance Agency. B. Descendants means an African American descendant of chattel slave in person or a descendant of a free Black person living in the United States prior to the end of the 19th century. C. Principal residence has the same meaning as subdivision K of Section 3 of Article 8 of the California Constitution. D. 13, sorry, 13, not 8, sorry, right, Darlene? Constitution. D. Program means the Homeowners Assistance of Descendants of Enslaved Persons program as established by this chapter. E. Qualified applicant means an applicant who satisfies all of the requirements under the subdivision A of Section 50676.5.2, 50676.5.1a. The Homeowners Assistance for Descendants of Enslaved Persons program is hereby established for the purpose of making financial aid or assistance available to descendants for the purpose of purchasing, owning, or maintaining a home. Upon appropriations by the legislatures, funds shall be distributed under the program in accordance with this chapter. C. The agencies shall develop and administer the program and, consistent with the requirements of this chapter, provide financial aid or assistance to qualified applicants it selects. 50676.5.2a. A person shall be considered a qualified applicant eligible to receive grant pursuant to this chapter if this person currently lives in the United States and is a descendant. B. The agency shall solicit and receive each round of applications for its program by January 1st of each year. Monies are available for the chapter's purpose. C. Financial aid and assistance provided pursuant to this program shall be used to assist descendants with purchasing, owning, or maintaining real property to be used as a principal residence, including to subsidize mortgage payments for homeowners, insurance, and any other means that will assist descendants in owning and maintaining a home. Oh, well, thank you. Oh, shucks. So, what I noticed is they've changed the grant language, our first read, because I was like, okay, why does it say grants on this one and assistance on the tax one? But I see that they've updated the language on grant to financial aid or assistance. Could we scroll up some more? Where's the redlining language? I didn't.
Also, Kim, before we go on, just to clarify, I think you said a person living in the United States. That information is redacted. It says currently lives in the state.
Oh,
so that's just to clarify.
Okay, thank you.
Let's go up. Let me know when you want me to stop.
I just want you to kind of scrub so we can kind of look to see. Do you guys see any redlining language in this? Because I know it was included in
the first read,
right? Purpose of owning, descendants of grant, legislative.
Wouldn't that have been in 1013?
I thought it was in 1007 as well.
Yeah, I just did.
You're not seeing it just
on redlining.
You don't see it?
No.
I thought it was actually in the bill title before too, so we'll have to go back and check the the versions, the bills.
For
History.
me, one thing that is missing from this, and I don't know if it's really missing or it'll come out later, is saying that they receive financial aid assistance to qualified applicants. But they don't. They say qualified applicants. To me, when you're reading this, is descendants of those who are descendants of enslaved persons.
Right.
But it doesn't talk about credit.
Credit?
Yeah, credit scores or anything. So,
Oh, no, I
no.
didn't see that either. But
No.
then there was another line talking about as the funds are available. Do you see that? So is it kind of like on a first come, first serve when the funds run out?
Yeah, and
so
it says
sad, too bad.
available for that year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's exactly what it says. Yeah.
Where section does it say that in? I'm trying to scrub through it. You're talking about on this 1007,
you're down,
right?
down in the body, down in the body. Mm-hmm.
Well, you scrolling kind of fast, partner.
Well, I'm trying to get there. I mean, Darlene's talking about down the body. I'm like
down in the body of it. I mean, but I know what you're talking about because it jarred it hit me when you said it. Established purpose of making fun.
See, B says shall solicit and receive each round of applications for this program by January 1st of each year. Monies are available for. Is that it?
Yeah, maybe that was it. Monies are available for the chapter's purpose.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So get your applications in early, is what it sounds like to me.
Well, I just think SB 1403 TAFA. I mean, they're going to have the genealogy and the and I know it's a start in the Office of Legal Affairs, but they got to come up with because even though it's a legal affair, it is not the same as tax law. That's completely different.
Yeah.
So they're definitely going to need that, and they're going to need this may fall under maybe legal affair or something else. Maybe. I mean, I could see a couple more agencies, offices within CAFA kind of happening pretty quick.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So before we get out of here, first of all, thanks everyone for joining. Let's go through some of these comments. I know we didn't have a lot of comments, but let's go through some of these comments. And then before we get out of here, Kim, if you could then just put up those overlays for the upcoming sessions that we're going to be live streaming here. But let's start off with this one. Thank you, Travis Taylor. Please forgive me if I mispronounce your last name. Twitter Space will listen to Event the Mass Media Group. You don't have to allow any speakers to allow a smooth room. Just an idea. Much thanks for what y'all do. Appreciate you too.
Thank you.
I don't know, Ken, what do you think about Twitter? I know y'all, or especially Ken, you're more into the Twitter space. Do you think that's something that would be beneficial for us?
I mean, I know we want to, drive people to our YouTube channel. That's kind of, what we do here as far as Twitter Spaces. I don't think we would have got one view because there was Spaces talk about this Drake beef with Kendrick Lamar had 4,000 people in it. So I don't even know if we could compete with that, in that space. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it might be an idea,
Yeah, I think it's an idea. And the thing with it is that for me, we have been going over the bill since their inception, but it seems like each time we read it, you learn more and more, especially with the amendments, so it couldn't hurt.
Right. And I would actually, if we were on Twitter Spaces, would like to hear from the community, the listening community, to see what they have to say about that. So maybe we'll see what we do when some of these bills hit the flow.
Yeah, this is very interesting when it comes to Twitter Spaces. I mean, I normally don't go on Twitter or Twitter Spaces, but for the times that I have gone on there, I think there's something called a Jumbotron, and we are actually a visual medium here. So, we kind of have to think about the Twitter space atmosphere and the apparatus to disseminate this information.
Well, and another
you
thing
know,
too, you Moria and Kim, and with the suggestion of the Twitter space, I think it would work is that you would read it, and then instead of having people come up during, you would have questions after you read the complete bill. I think
Yeah.
it would work that way. You can't have people interjecting while you read because that would throw the reader off. And maybe we could have guest readers of it. It doesn't necessarily have to be us all the time. Because
Okay.
like I say, every time I read the bill, it's just I find out something new. So it is definitely a good service and it's needed.
Yeah.
All right.
So, like I said, maybe as we get closer
Hmm.
to these floor sessions.
What's up, Yasmin? How you doing? Queen in the building.
Hey, in the house.
EPA. Thank you for this work, family. Y'all paying attention to hella details. Bless y'all.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It's
Sorry.
very detailed, so it takes reading it again and again because you miss something the first time.
Yeah, and these bills often get amended
Yeah.
quite
Mhm.
fast as it
Yeah.
goes through.
Oh yeah, you really
Yeah.
got to keep an eye on them when they go to suspense. I will tell you
Hmm.
that.
You're like, what's going on? So, Kim, do you mind putting up our upcoming live streaming overlays? Greatly appreciate that. I know we got one coming up tomorrow. Yes. That's the 13th. I think we have another one somewhere. There you go.
All right, and May
so-
1st, wait real
Yep.
quick. May 1st has passed, so if you missed it, it looks like the AB 3089 apology did make it to its next step. That's all.
Is that it? Okay, I thought you were gonna read the upcoming May 6th.
No, I'll let you do that.
If you want to, I pass the baton.
Will somebody read it?
You want
May
to take it,
6th, I'll do it. May 6th, SB 1403, California American Freedmen Affairs Agency has been set for hearing on May 6, 2024. That's going to be at 10 a.m. We'll be live streaming here on ETM Media. And if you're in the Sacramento area, please come by and share your Me Too statement.
Please, I mean, because it's so important to let the people sitting on these, on this case, the Senate committee, to know that the community supports these bills, and we support Senator Bradford for writing them and introducing them.
Absolutely. So yeah, that will be tomorrow. Yes, tomorrow is
That's tomorrow.
May
The
6th.
live.
Is so are any of us the advocate team? Are you going tomorrow, or is Chris going, or no?
I'll be there.
Will you be there? Okay. So
I'm
ETM
there.
Media Group will be in the building, and it's Darlene, ETM and Arc Bay in the building.
Arc Bay. Mm-hmm.
Hey, well, before we go to the next one, I gotta give y'all this here.
That is the plan.
That's the plan.
All right. So I think we have,
right.
after the next following week, we have in the appropriations on May 13th, which is that a Tuesday or
It's a Monday.
Monday? That
Monday.
is the following
Another
week,
Monday.
yes.
Monday.
Another manic Monday.
Just another, yeah.
Read my mind. That's going to be at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard, 10210 O Street, room 2200 in Sacramento, California State Capitol. The bills that will be heard will be SB 1331 with Bradford, the Fund for Reparations and Reparative Justice, which we read the bill today. SB 1050, Bradford, California American Freedmen Affairs Agency, racially motivated eminent domain, which we read today. And SB 1013, Bradford, taxation, property tax assistance for descendants of enslaved, which we also read today.
Maria, can you go back to the previous slide?
Oh,
Okay.
No,
Or
Kim, if
Kim,
you
I'm
don't
sorry, Kim.
mind.
I'm sorry if you don't mind. Okay, it doesn't have the room number on for tomorrow. Or does it?
no.
No. Okay.
So the May 6th hearing, let's actually go find that.
Yeah.
And that's in the Senate, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So that
Mhm.
will be in tomorrow's the 6th. So let's look it up in the 6th. I'm looking it up right now. And that will be held in the same room as
Okay.
the other 10. I'll put it in the
Oops, I meant to
yeah.
click on the other one, but since you're here, the membership, don't forget at ETM.
All right, so that's in. I'm gonna put in the comments.
Also in room
chat.
220
Yeah, so that will be in
or 2200.
10210 Street, and that's in the
O Street. O Street. You forgot
what
the
I
O.
say?
You just said 1021 Street.
Okay, 1021
21.
O Street,
O
and that
Street.
will be in the appropriations.
Yeah.
All right, appropriations. Dang, come on. Let's see if I get this right. Okay, that will be in the appropriations for. Can you mind going to the other slide real quick? Yes. So if you can see on the screen, that's where it'll be 10 a.m. 1021 O Street, room 2200. If you can show up, if not, we will be live streaming as well.
Yes, if you in Sacktown, come on down.
Come on down. All right, family. I think that's about it. Kim and Darlene, is there anything else y'all want to say before we wrap it up here?
No, just great show, and hope to see people in the building tomorrow. It's so important. Our lives really do depend on this.
Right,
Yes.
absolutely,
Mhm.
absolutely. I'll just say, I did see a interesting comment on Twitter, and it was like, if y'all would research your politicians and these policies and these bills as much as you do for these rap beefs, we might actually get somewhere.
Yeah, that was by Marcel, and trust me, I liked and reposted it because it must be generational. Because, like I said earlier to you two, I have no dog in this fight whatsoever with
Right.
Kendrick
So I mean, so
Lamar.
we
I
need to
don't
be
even know
looking
what it's
at
about.
the passage of these reparations bills. We need to
Yes.
be looking at it as a battle because it is definitely a battle.
Yes, we're at war.
Yeah. So get excited, get engaged.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
So
But
before
I
we get
also
out
want
of
to say you can't do two things at once. You can't do two things at once. But it's quite disturbing that the space for Drink and Kendrick Lamar had 4,000 people. No.
Well, I've also seen, comments that this, beef that's going on, this rap battle, it really is shining a light on, delineation and, culture and just being able to differentiate between, the two. So I do think that there's some value in it. Definitely. And, some pretty good Bop 2 tracks coming out of it.
Well, I mean, that's true. I agree with that part of it, Kim, although I'm not following it, as you know. But also, I would just love to see those numbers here at ETM Media. People coming out for these bills if possible. People sending these support letters. And that's all I'm saying. We could do two things at once.
Yes. So
It's
swing by
possible.
ETM Media because we got some Freedom X Drake rap battle music there ourselves, so go check that out. What was the name of that one, Freedom X?
Whips and Chains This. You talking about Whips and Chains
This? Yes. Go
Yeah.
check that out. That's our little contribution to the battle.
Yeah. We could actually do
See,
two
we're
things
not
at
totally sticks in the mud.
No, we're not.
No, this is not sticking them up. This is my legacy here. This is what you talking about. Okay, no, we could just do two things at once. I'm sure. Like again, I'll just have to say this is generational. I have no interest in this at all, but I do understand your part about the delineation. We as American free men, they people want to come over here and claim that they developed hip hop and rap. I get that part because they did not. I even know that.
Right.
So I mean, it does have some value. I agree, but
Yes, we do need to scrutinize, these people that are in our spaces, claiming our
hmm
culture. That's for sure.
hmm
Well, speaking
I
of,
agree.
well, I was kind of segueing to what I was going to say. It's a little off topic, but I was watching a documentary on Rothschild, the banker,
Hmm.
Mm,
and not through the whole documentary, they didn't mention slavery once,
mm,
like the whole time. And I'm like, how can you not mention Rothschild without mentioning slavery? I mean, that's what funded not only the UK, but obviously the United States and all of the Western Hemisphere, right? And colonialism too in Africa. But like through this whole documentary, it wasn't even mentioned. And I'm like,
mm,
that's why it's so important, not only what we do in the Media Mass group, but everybody who is trying to educate the masses of people to say, hey, you can't just look over this period of time in history, because without this,
mhm.
there wouldn't be anything. Like when
No.
we talk about the
Mm-mm.
economy that's happening today, the modern economy would not exist, right?
As we
With
know it. Mm-hmm.
it just wouldn't.
Mm-mm.
So that
That's
was,
part of the
you know what I mean?
erasure that we're
Yep.
dealing with. So it's up to us to keep this information at the forefront of the
And
conversations
just
and
a
the
little
narrative.
thing about knowing that the first commodity to be used on the New York Stock Exchange were human bodies, our
Right.
ancestors. You know what I'm saying? I mean, do people really know that? You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's so vital.
Wall Street.
Hmm.
All right,
And I
family,
know
we'll
some
take some
parents are
questions. Oh, go ahead,
tired,
Daniel.
and I was just gonna say, I know some parents are tired. They got to work. The life of a descendant, but it's just up to us to inform our children because they're not going to get it in those schools they have to attend. But that's just my 2 cents.
Yep, and I got a
Yeah.
surprise. I can't let this out the cat can't be let out the bag. But I am working on something, uh,
Mm.
dealing with a cartoon. So I'm just putting
Oh,
that out there
okay.
right now. I'm putting that out in the universe. I can't give anybody any details right now, but yes, working on a
Okay.
cartoon in animation, ladies and gentlemen, will be
Hmm.
my first one. I've done um, documentaries. I've done what else? Feature films, but this will be my first venture into animation. So
All right. Looking
you
forward
know
to
what I
it.
mean? Yeah, this
Yeah,
is
Hmm.
going to be very interesting.
Yeah.
give us something to watch other than that Good Times garbage on
Oh
Netflix.
Mm.
gosh, my
No, I'll let
gosh, that
y'all
was
handle that. Y'all
garbage.
the true journalists. And I said, well, I guess I'm not a
I
journalist because
mean,
I
that's all
ain't
we
even
need
looking
to
at it.
say about it. Good time
Yeah.
garbage on Netflix. That's
Yeah.
that's that's
No.
enough
Mm-mm.
said.
That was bad times, and not a bad in a
Yeah.
good way. That was horrible.
Horrible. Yeah.
I mean, just the destruction, the devastation that
Of the
it's done, to the Black American community. I mean, when you
and the
compare that,
family.
yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
mean, when you compare the original Good Times to that, they should have just named it something else,
They
or
should
did,
have
you know
named
what I
it
mean?
something
Just
else.
did something else,
I mean, I still
right?
might not have watched it, but they could have named it something else.
Gosh,
Yeah, really,
horrible.
really. So, with that being said, thank you everyone for joining us today or who will be watching this later. Um, thank you.
Thank you. Please like, share, and subscribe to your number one source for news and reparations. And I'm actually going to play one video since we did have good Queen Yasmin in the building. So I want to give her a shout out. And then also, we're going to go out with a track as well. So, on that note, everyone, take care of yourself. Peace and reparations.
Next speaker.
Good morning. My name is Yasmin Abdusami Oakley, and I am a reparationist. And what we do is we teach our community and the surrounding communities about state atonement and the initiatives for reparations here in California. We teach our community the difference between lineage and race. Reparations is not DEI. Reparations is not race-based initiatives. And I suggest that this board learn the difference so that you can advocate properly for the descendants of enslaved and then emancipated Americans here in San Francisco. The San Francisco African American Reparations Advisory Board, while I tremendously respect their work, they did not do a good job in distinguishing between lineage and race. We advocate for the descendants of enslaved and then emancipated Americans to receive reparations in the form of direct cash payments. An apology is very low on our list. And our top priority is compensation, restitution, rehabilitation, and the guarantee of non-repetition. Getting cash repairs directly to descendants of emancipated Americans who are literally lining the streets of San Francisco. They are Americans. So I don't see reparations as a Black issue. It is an American issue. If you want to give an apology, you want to do it in the most expensive city in the world, these people can't eat an apology. Our youth are forced to break into cars because their wealth was stolen by this city and this state and this country. You need to designate land and housing specifically for descendants and housing specifically for descendants who have roots in San Francisco. And you need to give cash payments to those people as well. And you need to give some of those contracts that don't have any oversight, you need to give them to descendant American companies. And I bet we'll start having oversight then. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Lineage all day, every day, any day. We don't play. Lineage all day, every day, any day. We don't play. Lineage all day, every day, any day. We don't play. Lineage all day, every day, any day. We don't play. It's all about lineage, lock and load. At what you heard, we stay on code. It's all about lineage, lock and load. At what you heard, we stay on code. It's all about lineage, lock and load. At what you heard, we stay on code. It's all about lineage, lock and load. At what you heard, we stay on code. People call you crazy when you stand over justice. If you have no heart, then you're not about justice. Put the mind to the pedal and the foot on the gas. Hit the overdrive, tower coming at last. Everybody wants to eat while my people stay hungry. Blood in the book, slavery built this country. Came to this land by forced migration. Built this nation on blacks and plantations.
Did you ever think what it would be like traveling along in an open car without a windshield? Boy, you wouldn't go very far before you got all splattered with mud. And you'd have to keep your eyes closed so as not to be blinded by the dust. Well, when you're traveling along in life, Rangers, common sense acts as a pretty important windshield. It lets you see where you're going.
I am the greatest.